Welcome to this edition of the Taiwan Outlook. I'm your host, Raymond Wu. As we live in Taiwan, our relations with China is of most importance to many people in Taiwan. And also our relations with the U.S., with the U.S. election just took place. What happened with the U.S. election, of course, will have a direct bearing on what happens with our relationship and also in the U.S.-China-Taiwan triangle. Today, we're very pleased and honored to have a special guest on the program who knows the inner working in the legislature in our Taiwan government, and who was a former member of the Legislative Yuan under the KMT, and currently he's the Deputy Secretary General of the ROC-USA Cultural Economic Association. Mr. Li Shangren to our Taiwan Outlook today. Welcome to the program, Shangren.
Thank you. Welcome. Very nice to meet you here. Let's care about Taiwan's future.
Yes, and we all know, our relations with China, since May 20th, when the new government and new president has been inaugurated, has gone through a lot of changes. Certainly, the cross-strait tensions has been eased. It's not so much confrontational as it once was, but also at the same time, there are a lot of liberalization measures taking place. And then, and these liberalizing measures, now, of course, primarily in the economic domain, but in the future, there will be discussion about, politics. There will be discussion about Taiwan's international space. All these issues will come up in the, future weeks and months ahead. But just at the beginning, would you share with the viewers that your overall assessment of how cross-strait relations, has been, since the new government was inaugurated back in May?
Yeah, it's true. After the inauguration of President Ma Ying-jeou,
yes,
I think the relations across the strait are getting much better and well improved. I think this is everybody like to see it, and also I think the most significant change is that we restart the dialogue between Taiwan's SAF, Strait Exchange Foundation, and China's RATS, Association of Relations across the Taiwan Straits.
Yes.
And I think it is that's the first step. That's very, very important. I like to characterize this kind of change as the decrease of hostility, or the diminishing of hostility. It's the very important step, the first step, to go further to the improvement of the relations across the strait.
And we all know, because of separation in space and time, Taiwan and China has been separated, over close to 60 years. And certainly, over that period of time, there's a lot of changes in both places. Taiwan, we underwent the economic miracle back in the 70s and 80s and become one of the four little dragons in Asia. And for China, especially in the last 10 to 15 years, the economy opened up to the world, and the economy was growing at the over 10% per year. And then they'll certainly become, made China economic power in today's, economy, world economy. And also this year, 2008, is the Beijing Olympics, and China has successfully staged the Beijing Olympics without much of a, incident or accident on and off the field of competition. So, taking all that, what do you think, will happen in the future as the most difficult aspects of these relationships, in the future, becoming closer and more integrated?
Right. I think God bless Chinese, God bless Taiwanese.
Yes.
And we think that for the past 8 years, basically there's no intersection between Taiwan and China.
There's a lot of confrontation.
Lots of confrontation. One side shouted on the other side, and lots of hostility. And I think recently the atmosphere has changed. Taiwan's SAF and China's RATS have the opportunity to
face-to-face dialogue
and restart the dialogue. In June this year, we saw the meeting between Chen Yunlin and Jiang Bingkun in Beijing. I think that's a good start.
Yes, of
course. And this year, And this month we can have a second meeting of them.
Yes.
And also they can we expect lots of the more achievements.
Exactly.
Including we can establish the food security mechanism, and also the cargo shipping, direct cargo shipping, and also maybe have some opening of the more landing ports of the direct flight. I think that's all the both sides people expect. That would be better for the future relations.
Yeah, and as you stated, I think the dialogue between CEF and ARATs are very, very important, and also these are the only government, both governments sanctioned channel of communication. Certainly, a lot of the policy liberalization will need to go through face-to-face negotiation and discussion before they become finalized. But do you think that with now more ports and more tourists coming into Taiwan and more ports open for direct charter flights between China and Taiwan, do you think that just purely in the economic domain first, do you think the economic relations between the two sides will become more interdependent on each other? And will that interdependence have any adverse impact for Taiwan as a separate, independent, sovereign state?
I think it is possible because of the financial crisis in the world.
Yes.
Taiwan and China, maybe because of this kind of crisis, will let us to work together to cope with the crisis.
To overcome the difficulties.
That's right. And also because of the people's expectation, I think both governments can do something more to help let the people see the hope.
Yes.
We can have a more bright future.
Yes.
Not like 8 years ago. The past 8 years, lots of confrontations, lots of the not happy things happen.
Yes,
so
of
I
course.
think maybe because of the international economic situation get worsened.
Yes.
So we maybe can get to catch the opportunity to reopen the dialogue, to let both sides people can have to work together.
And Shangren, you and I have been to meetings with very important scholars and ex-government officials in the U.S. And certainly, we sense that there's a lot of American interest and concern as to the direction of the cross-strait relations. How would you think important allies like the United States, like Japan, and even Singapore in Southeast Asia, how would you think they would react to the recent relaxation of tension, to the more integrated relations between China and Taiwan, at least economically? How would you think that they would react to such recent developments across the Taiwan Strait?
I think all the countries here like to have a peaceful environment.
Of course.
In an East Asian region.
Yes.
Especially the United States, as you mentioned, the United States, Japan, and Singapore. And because of the stability of the relations across the strait, I think we can convince them that we can encourage them to see that because of the stability between Taiwan and China's relations, that will encourage them to have more confidence here to strengthen the relations between us and our allies.
Yes.
That will be a good sign for all the in this region.
How would you think that China, eventually, after we done the economic policy liberalization, and eventually the issue of politics will come up in cross-strait relations, how would you think that China will react to Taiwan becoming more regionally integrated, with countries in Southeast Asia, for example, with ASEAN nations? Would you think China will allow a little more international space for Taiwan?
I think with the increasingly such kind of a friendly atmosphere, China should do something better, good for the people here. Let us see the hope in the future. And maybe, just I mentioned that because of the financial crisis,
of course,
and both the people on both sides will expect to have more cooperation of the economic exchange, and maybe we can see this as a very good opportunity for us, and also for the two governments.
Of course.
Maybe after the meeting between Chen Yulin and Jiang Bin-kun, they can have a more detailed planning, detailed government policy to combine together to help each other to deal with such kind of financial chaos.
And do you think that if we approach the economic issue first and then politics later, do you think the kind of trust and confidence, mutual confidence between China and Taiwan will be helpful in terms of in the future if we talk about international space or more political sensitive issue like Taiwan's international participation at organizations like WHO next May? Would you think that build up the confidence between the two sides will be very helpful?
Yeah, I think it's helpful, and also it's possible because China also encouraged the IMF to dominate such kind of financial reshaping mechanism to cope with the financial crisis. Maybe that would be a very good chance for Taiwan to contribute our ability, our resources to help all the countries. Maybe we are also one of the victims, but not so serious compared with other countries in European countries. Maybe we can do something and we can contribute to show our people's willingness to be as a member in the world.
Be a more positive force and not a troublemaker.
That's right.
And we all know that, Shangren, you spent 6 years in our legislature as a member of the Legislative Yuan, and also you are the ranking member of the Foreign Affairs Committee in the Legislative Yuan. So you know Taiwan's foreign relations very well. And after a short break, we'll be right back into the program Taiwan Outlook, and we're going to continue our discussion with Mr. Li Shangren, and we're going to ask him about the recent policy by our government on diplomatic truce. Will that truce lead to something greater, a bigger breakthrough in the future? We'll be right back.